Hey, what's going on, guys? Today on the channel, I'm going to go through some Windows 11 settings that you should change immediately as soon as you upgrade or install Windows 11, or maybe you've been using it for a little while and you haven't really gone into your settings and adjusted them. I highly recommend that you go in there and take a look at all of your settings. So we're going to go over a few of them today, some of the ones that I would change right away. So this is a fresh install of Windows 11 Pro. We're actually on a virtual machine, so excuse the lagginess. That's due to the screen recording here today. So first thing we're going to talk about here is the start menu. So Windows 11 start menu, you either love it or you hate it. Of course, the start menu appears right here in the center. It looks just like this now. And there's actually a lot of different customizations that you can do to it to kind of make it look a little bit less cluttered and better. So what we're going to do here is actually head into our settings. So a quick way to get into the settings is you can right click on the start button down here, and then you can go right here into your settings. Okay, so when we head into our settings, we'll head over here into the personalization section, and we're going to scroll down a little bit once this loads in some of the themes, and you should see some options for your start menu. So here it is down here. We got the start. Go ahead and jump into that. So as you can see here in the start menu, we have our recently added applications. We can have our most used apps, recently opened items, and as well as different folders. So recently added applications, those are going to be the ones that like you just download or something like that, and they'll appear kind of right there. We also have that recommended thing, so you can change that up as well. But if you actually click right here, we can undo the recently added apps. You can also disable the recently opened items, so if you don't want that. Another handy thing you can do with the start menu is you can actually add like shortcuts to it. So if you click on this folders tab, you'll get a lot of different things you can choose from here. So for example, let's say you frequently go into your documents. So you could toggle documents on, and then now when you go into your start menu, you can see down here in the bottom right, you now have a little shortcut for your documents, so you can easily access those right there. So that's basically what you can do with your start menu. Now another thing, of course, is your taskbar. So we can go into personalization and taskbar. So this is where you can actually choose what's in your taskbar. So by default now, Microsoft is including some different things like their chat feature, task view, and search. So this is where you can like go in and actually turn those off. So let's say you're actually not going to use the Microsoft Teams. Well, you can toggle that off right there. Another thing you can do is you can add your different corner icons. So maybe if you have a touchscreen device, well, you can adjust it right there. This is also where you can adjust the overflow. So Windows updates, of course, will always appear right there. And another cool thing, of course, is if you don't want to embrace the change of actually the taskbar being in the center, well, you can, of course, put it back to where it belongs on the left-hand side. So it is nice that they included that in there for you if you don't want to put it in the center like Windows 11 does. Next thing we'll talk about here has to do with notifications. So this is pretty self-explanatory. Of course, Windows likes to give you a lot of useless notifications about random things. So you can go into System, you can go into Notifications, and you can actually adjust what you want to see. So you can see right here we have Privacy, so you can actually go in there and see it a little bit more. And you can choose what you want the notifications to look like, whether you want them to stack or the priority or a sound and all that. So you can actually turn off those different notifications if you do not want them. Let's talk about probably the main thing about this whole video that I really want to stress, and that is the privacy settings. So there are a lot of settings in here that I think people should really take a look at because Windows 11 seems like it collects a lot, and I mean a lot of data about the user. So we're going to kind of go in here and show you different things of what you should definitely change. So first off, Windows permissions down here. So when you actually set up Windows, one of the setup questions is all these kind of like privacy settings. I've actually already turned all mine off during the setup process, but there's still some that are still enabled. So for example, if we go into here, you see that let apps show me personalized ads using my ID. I turned that off during the setup, but you can see right here it says let websites show me locally relevant content by accessing my language list, and let Windows improve the start and search results by tracking app launches. Now, I don't think they really need this, so you can kind of go in there and turn those things off, right? Like I don't think they need to know that stuff right there. Now this one's pretty serious. So it says use your voice for apps using Microsoft's online speech recognition technology. If you turn this off, you won't be able to use apps that use it. However, you can still use the Windows Speech app and others. So yeah, another way for them to kind of listen to you. You don't want that one on, I wouldn't say. Another one here is the inking and typing. You can see that use my typing history and patterns to create a dictionary. You can turn that one off. Diagnostics, of course, is a big one. Now, unfortunately, you can't opt out of it completely because it says you're sending the required data to keep your device working properly, I guess. But there is optional data, so you can turn that off. They don't need to know everything about you. The inking and typing data, turn that off. Tailored experiences, and then you can also view your data, but you can also delete it. So if you've actually had any of your data collected, you can go right here and you can delete it. So they'll actually apparently do that. So yeah, definitely want to turn that stuff off. Next thing here in the privacy section, of course, is your application permissions. So Apple does this pretty well, and Microsoft's doing it now too. So you can actually go into each one of these different categories and you can see what your applications are able to access. So if you download something that asks, of course, to have your location, you can go in here and you can enable that. You can also turn it off completely. So location services, I don't have that enabled, but if I did, you can scroll down and you can see the different apps and you can toggle them on and off depending on which ones you want to have access to your location. Same thing goes for your microphone, your camera, all those different kind of things. So, and they even do things like, they even go kind of in depth here, like different things like your phone calls, call history, email. So you can go pretty in depth, and I am proud to see that Microsoft has all these different settings that you can go into and adjust. So it really kind of increases your privacy level. You don't want applications to have access to things they don't need to have access to. So there are a lot of these in here. I'm not going to go through every single one of them because we'll be here all day. But I highly recommend that you go into the privacy and security and you adjust those different app permissions accordingly. Let's talk a little bit about applications again, but this time we're over here in the apps section. So first things first, we can go up here to the apps and features, and we can actually go in and we can choose where to get different apps. So this is kind of just a security thing, right? So default is actually anywhere. It's kind of a little sketch, but basically you can go in and you can choose different options. So you can choose anywhere, but let me know if there's an app in the Microsoft Store, anywhere but warn me before installing an app not from the store, or the Microsoft Store only. So I would recommend probably this option right here, just a little bit more like security risk there. If you don't have this enabled, you can just literally download anything So definitely want to have that, but you also want to be careful anyways downloading apps from the internet. So that's that. Next thing here in the apps, you can go into the startup section, and this is exactly what it sounds like. So how many of you know when you turn on your computer or you log in, there's just all sorts of stuff that automatically starts up? Well, now you can go in and you can actually turn those off individually. So for example, I don't use OneDrive. I can turn that off, and it actually tells you what impact it will do there. So I don't use Teams. I can turn that off as well. And as you install more apps, of course, it'll pop up right there. So yeah, that's another useful feature here. Next thing here, if you haven't already, you want to go into power and battery under your system. And we're going to go to power mode, and I would recommend choosing the balanced mode. You can also choose the power efficiency or best performance. So basically it kind of just changes things up to optimize your computer. So but yeah, balanced is usually the one that I would recommend choosing. It should be on by default, but it is nice to check. The last thing I'll talk about today is something that always gets everybody. I have videos about how to actually avoid signing into your Microsoft account, because Windows basically forces you to do that during your setup. Obviously, just another way for Microsoft to really keep up with what you're doing, right? But anyways, if you want to not do that after the fact, so maybe you signed in during your setup and you want to not do that, you can still actually use a local account. So as you can see, I'm using a local account, and all you have to do is go into System, go into your Accounts tab down here, and then when you go into your info, you should, if you're signed into a Microsoft account, there should be a button somewhere in this area, and it'll actually say use a local account instead. So if you want to sign out of your Microsoft account and just use a normal local computer account, you can do that right there. So that is very nice that they at least give you the option after the fact that you've already signed in and given a bunch of data. But anyways, that's pretty much all I have for you guys today on this topic. There's a ton more settings that we could talk about, but those are just some of the main highlights. I would say you definitely want to go in there and adjust those privacy settings. So that's what I would recommend definitely doing. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching the channel, and I will catch you on the next video.